I'll never forget the sound of her laugh. It wasn't human. It was the night my cousin Banji disappeared. People in our village always told us not to go near the old palace at the edge of the forest. It had been abandoned for as long as anyone could remember. They said it belonged to Princess Amara, the last daughter of the old kingdom. Amara was beautiful, but she was wicked. Stories about her were whispered among elders at night. They said she dabbled in things no one should. Dark rituals, sacrifices. When her people tried to overthrow her, she cursed them all. They say the curse killed her entire family, but not her. She didn't die like the rest. She just stayed. People claimed her spirit still roamed the palace, looking for revenge on anyone who dared disturb her. I never believed those stories. Not really, but something about the palace always felt wrong. Even during the day, the air around it was cold and the forest grew darker as you got closer. Banji didn't care. He was fearless, or maybe just reckless. He laughed at the old stories, called them village nonsense. That night, we were sitting by the fire, and he said he wanted to go to the palace. He dared me to come along. I hesitated. "What if the stories are true?" I asked. He rolled his eyes. "They're not. It's just an old building. People are too scared to go near it, so it's probably full of treasure. Come on." I should have said no. I should have begged him to stay. But Banji had a way of pulling you into things, and I didn't want him to think I was a coward. So I agreed, but only to go as far as the forest edge. When we got there, the palace loomed in the distance, its roof half collapsed, walls covered in creeping vines. The moonlight barely lit the path ahead. Even from that far away, I could feel it. A heaviness in the air, like something didn't want us there. "See?" Banji said, grinning. "It's just an old house. I'm going in." "You're crazy," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Let's just go back." He ignored me and started walking toward the palace. I stayed where I was, my stomach nodding with every step he took. I couldn't follow him. I didn't care if he called me a coward, I just couldn't. I waited. At first, I heard nothing but the wind in the trees. Then, a faint sound. Footsteps crunching on leaves. It wasn't Banji. It was coming from deeper in the forest, from behind me. I spun around, but I couldn't see anything. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. And then, I heard it. The laugh. It was sharp, high-pitched, and it didn't sound like it came from a person. It echoed through the trees, sending chills down my spine. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I just stood there, frozen, as the laugh got louder and louder. "Banji," I shouted, "let's go, now." He didn't respond. A few minutes later, I saw him running out of the palace. His face was pale, his eyes wide with terror. He wasn't laughing anymore. He grabbed my arm and pulled me away from the forest without saying a word. When we were back in the village, he finally spoke. His voice was shaky, barely above a whisper. "She's awake," he said. "She's awake and she knows my name." I didn't understand what he meant, but I didn't ask. I could see the fear in his eyes, and it scared me more than anything. Banji wasn't afraid of anything. Until that night. He didn't sleep at all. He locked himself in his hut and refused to come out. The next morning, his parents broke down the door, but Banji was gone. The room was empty. No sign of a struggle. No sign he'd ever been there. The villagers searched for him, but it was like he had vanished into thin air. No one would go near the palace to look for him. They said it was too dangerous. 3 nights later, I woke up to the sound of that laugh again, right outside my window. My heart stopped. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. And then I heard a voice. "Tell Banji I'm not finished." The voice was low and soft, but it cut through me like a blade. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. When I finally worked up the courage to look out the window, there was nothing there. Just darkness. I left the village the next day. I told my parents I couldn't stay, and they didn't argue. They knew something was wrong, even if I couldn't explain it. I don't know what happened to Banji or what he saw in that palace. All I know is that he was right. She's awake. And she's still out there. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear that laugh.